you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hearer of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Welcome to an A.H.A.D moment with Holy-Apostle Deen. I don't have my host today, as you see, but like we're gonna be here and we're gonna be rapping. This is an A.H.A.D moment, and I thank you for joining me. May Ahezaah's peace and blessings be within and about your presence. I was before we came on camera, I was discussing some things with a wonderful brother of mine, Brother Jason, and I just want to continue that discussion. But the topic for today is about the problems that we have as human beings in the world. I want to focus on our relationship with the commandments of the Lord Most High. Now, what was we discussing, brother?
We were just discussing the demonstration of reality for most human beings, as opposed to those who are sincerely seeking the truth and a sincere relationship with the Most High.
Right, and I had made the statement that most people don't want to deal with the truth, and what like when we talk about the truth, what is the truth? You have to ask yourself, what is the truth? Most people don't know what the truth is. Well, there's so many truths, so many kinds of truths, but the ultimate truth, the absolute truth, is the reality of being. That's Ahezaah, that's El. That's the of everything. The definite article, the real, the essence of everything, the power of everything, that which make everything be, and that which make everything move, that which gives everything time and that which creates and commands the Lord of the throne, in its form. But that which is the mind, the infinite mind of it manning the throne, because the Lord is it. Ahezaah and Allah and Amen in Ra, that is El, under many names, commanding its throne. I want people to understand that, we have billions of people that might say they want the truth, but there may be less than 100 that absolutely want the truth in this whole entire world. You think about that. From billions of people, it's a so minute amount of number that really wants the truth. And on a common level, when you talk about truth, people say, tell me the truth. I want the truth. I want the truth. Young man by the name of Michael Jackson, beautiful brother who passed away, entertainer. He said he was talking to the man in the mirror. And he had it when he said that. The truth that each individual need to see is in that mirror. It's the truth of themselves. But they need to look deeper than the mirror, because the mirror only reflects the outer form. The mirror is that inner reflection. That truth lies in that inner reflection of your being, where you need to look. And for most people, it's very ugly. Most people hate what they see, and they refuse to acknowledge what they see. Some refuse to look at what they see. Some deceive themselves about what they see. They turn away and say, that's not me. And I've personally have had experience to not know myself at a time where I couldn't believe that what I seen of myself was me. I remember, I give you a small demonstration. I remember once upon a time, my second wife, I was speaking to her, and I was messing with some recordings, and this is back in the early 70s. And I was messing with a recording machine, and I left it on by mistake. And I was talking with her. And I talked with her for about a half an hour or so. And later I came and I was messing with it. And then I hit the button. And I listened to myself, and I said, "Who was that? Who that on my machine?" And she said, "That's you." I said, "That's not me." She said, "Yes, it is." I said, "That's not me." She said, "Yes, it is." And we got in a little dispute, a little ruckus about it. And in the midst of me being angry and telling her that wasn't me, it came up to a point I remember saying what I was saying to her. And it struck me so hard that that was me. And why I was angry was because I sounded like my father and my uncles, who are country brothers from Florida. And I didn't like the way they sound being a city boy, growing up in the city. I didn't want to sound like that. And I didn't think I sounded like that, like I sound. And so I blocked it out that I sound like I'm from, it's the South. I speak with a Native American drawl because there's Native Americans, Seminoles in my family. I come from that lineage, and I speak with a little drawl. It comes out long, and I don't like it. At least I didn't like it. Now, so praise be to Ahezaah. Shoot, I got a voice. But peer pressure, people teasing you growing up in the city, in the urban areas, about how you sound, how you look, how you walk, how you talk, all little things. And I didn't want to accept that, and I said, wow, no matter how much I've tried to change this thing, I can't change the way I sound. I sound like my father and my uncles. Wow. I'm going to stop trying to change this. And I was like about 20, 22 years old. But think about that. My very voice, I tried to escape and block that truth off from myself about the very way I sound. And I listen to myself every day, all the time. How deep can that be? Now you think about people not wanting to accept themselves in the way they look, the way they think, what race they are, what nationality they are, what level of status they live at financially in this society because of what men and women do. They don't want to accept that truth, so you could totally block that out. That's why people point at one person and point out their faults and never see their own faults. Some people charge people for things that they do themselves so very clear without giving it a second thought. They just go on in their way, talking about, oh, you this, you that, you this, you that, and they are that, and this, and that. Now, one of the things I wanted to address is, why do we have so many problems in the paths of the way of religion? Because, see, religious people are turned inside out today. This is the day of revelation. This is the day of judgment. This is the promised day that Muhammad talked about Muslims believing in Allah and the day. This day. Not a day in heaven after you pass. Not that judgment day. This day of judgment for man. See, people want to act as though Ahezaah is not here. See, one of the problems we have, the greatest problem we have, is that man has forgotten how to play the game of life. Man has taken away from himself and turned it inside out and darkened the mirror so he can't see himself and what he's supposed to be doing. As religious people, we need to understand that El, whatever name you want to call it, Allah, Amin, Amin-Ra, Rama, Ahezaah. Well, we supposed to call it Ahezaah today because this is his new name that it has established. It said, my new name is Ahezaah for the Lord of the throne. Or whatever you want to call it, it is the leader of the path of the chosen way, the way that it chose. It is the leader, and it is the guide, and it is the judge. It is the commander. But man has forgotten. People want to say Allah created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and rested. We as human beings that are aware, that are enlightened, realize, we know, it has been put upon us to understand and to recognize that El never rests, not putting itself to rest. It put things to rest. Everything that has a beginning has an end. Everything that manifests in life and death has a pulse. In that pulse, in the midst of that pulse, there's a resting period. That's how it's a pulse. Blue, 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 blue. It has a resting period in there. But Ahezaah continues everything. So when does it rest? So it rested something, but not itself. So it never left Adam and Eve alone. It never left them alone to do whatever the devil wants you to think that it left them alone to do. They were commanded to surrender to it, to worship it. That's why they was created. Now, how could they worship it if it's not there to be worshiped? It didn't say worship the thought of me. It didn't say I created man to worship the thought of me. Because the thought of me is part of the illusion. It created man to worship it in its presence. To recognize and to remember and always be aware of its presence. But we want to take religion and we want to think that the religions we have in all these different churches and synagogues and temples and mosques and masjids and places of the holy houses of all kinds of names, we want to think that El is the one that established that as a holy divine thing. When the devil has put his hands, the devil Satan has put his hands in all the works of the Lord as a trial for man. The devil has never stopped since the law has given it the authority to do evil. He is authorized, or it is authorized to do evil against all things. Now, we being human beings, we forget that it is always present. It is the thing to be recognized always as the real thing, and we are the others. In other words, we are aside from it as being real. We are created from its thoughts. And we are formed by its will. But nothing can form it. Because see, the Lord of the throne is less than El. in its form. But the unseen power, the infinite mind that housed that Lord, oh, that's El. And that's beyond the form. That's beyond the supermost supreme angels that forms it. That is formed by it, that clothes it.
With the murky ethers.
Now, we need to understand that Allah is ever here, ever now, and ever in charge of what we supposed to be doing. But as a trial to us, it will stay back unseen, and it will stay back and allow us to make our errors in giving us our life. It will allow us to find the true way, the correct way to being of it in giving us our lives. What are we going to do as human beings to truly be of it? Are we going to stand back and deny ourselves, denounce the truth of ourselves so that we feel good about ourselves and put up a greater false picture of ourselves? Or are we going to accept our ugly, needing individual selves and stop hurting the world by hating ourselves of what we see of the world, of humanity, and trying to do them in? The jinn, the devil's advocates, the powerful men of evil. You got good jinn and you got bad jinn. These are the men of power. They like to fashion themselves as genies, magical, powerful men. They had the spirit of the devil or the spirit of the fallen angels in them. And then you have those who try to be right amongst them, trying to repent, trying to understand that they've made errors as human beings. Are you going to follow them because of what Allah gives them as a trial over you? Or are you going to follow the truth and the words of the commandments that Allah sent down in the name of A.H.A.D this day, and in the name of Brahman and many others in the past days? A.H.A.D says, keep things simple. If you simplify things, then it'll be easy for you to understand them. If you simplify things and try to give those things from yourself that it gives to you in a simplistic manner to someone else, in truth, being sincere, then it will make things simple for you. If you try to complicate things for people, Allah, the Lord Ahezaah, is going to make things complicated for you. It has made that its law. It has made that its law. As you do, so shall it be done unto you. So if you go about trying to mess with people's minds because of your information, your intelligence, then you will have your mind messed with automatically. If you try to poison the world, then you will be poisoned automatically. If you try to destroy truth, then you will be destroyed automatically. But think about if you try to destroy evil and wrongfulness, ugliness, then all those things in you will be destroyed automatically.
Praise Ahezaah. Praise Ahezaah.
So it's not so much how much you know, It's about how you do what you know. How you doing life with what you know, with what you experience. People think that the man with the most information, the most intelligence, because that's nothing but information. Intelligence is nothing but information. Intelligence is not wisdom. People think that the person with the most intelligence is the one that should be the leader, the one that should be followed, the one that should be looked to be understood. But I beg to differ. Because you have many men full of information, full of intelligence that they don't understand themselves. You got many men walking around like books. They throw out information, and take the person who is not full of faith with L and squash them because they bow down to that information. And by them bowing down to that information, they're falling off the path. Because Ahezaah says we were created to worship it alone, not information. People bow down to the books that they call holy, even though they may suspect that the jinn has put his hands on it, that the devil's advocates has put their hands on it, and that the devil may have a great influence in it. So it's not wise to worship the book. Sit over on that side, sister. It's not wise to worship the information. When the Lord El sends his divine books down, its holy books, it sent it down as a guide, as a map, an instructional tool. That's all it is. And some of us want to go so far as to worship the book. I can understand you fearing the Lord, fearing his presence, honoring its words in those books, dignifying his words, preserving his words of truth, protecting it. But worshiping its words? No. Its words are less than it. Think about this. It said, be, and all was as it willed. So we are its words in living forms. So should we worship ourselves? It is above its words. It caused me to understand that when it said to me, I raise you above this book. And I trembled because I was holding the Holy Quran. Said, I raise you above it unto myself. And I grant you the understanding of it. But it will be beneath you. Well, you will live by another law and another order. And I will give unto you religion for the people. Now, who am I to worship its words? When it has put me above those words. And it don't fear. It don't lose nothing by putting me wherever they want to put me. Oh, I'm not saying I myself am greater. I don't know what I am. All I know is what it has done with me, what it said it would do with me, and what it has done with me. Now, let me just give you a little scenario as to a little insight as to why we had that conversation about it raising me above those words. It was giving me the book of the seven seals. It was giving me the book of the new covenant, the divine book of recitation. And me being a lowly human being, fearful of it, and sitting or standing or worshiping in the position that I was worshiping under its holy Quran, I wanted to check its words, its spoken words, by its holy Quran. And I was afraid. I was afraid. I'm like, oh Lord, please, please have mercy on me. You telling me things I've never heard before. Please let me check this. And the Lord got angry, slightly angry with me. But if it weren't for his mercy and his understanding, I'd have been messed up. Instead of it chastising me, it says it made me lose the Quran, something I cherish more than I can't even put no equal to it. And I said, how could I lose my holy Quran? How? With all these years, I never lost mind about where it was at. I don't care where I was at. If I went to California and left my holy Quran in New Jersey, my mind knew where that Quran was at. Because my mind stayed focused on it. Because that was my Lord's words as far as I was concerned.
Praise A.H.A.D.
And it caused me to lose it. But I knew that it took it by metaphysical means. I know that it took it. I have 1 minute, brother. Well, let me just say, you know, I love you people. The spirit or the thought of you, because I don't know you, but I love the fact that you are tuning in and checking me out. And I'm speaking to my New York audience. I just, as well, I want you to keep tuning in and you know, turn on next week to, you know, hear us out for the rest of this show. And I say, we have to let you go, unfortunately. May I use his peace and blessed be there about your presence. Until next week.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed?